Breaking news! Yes, my friends, as the 2025 draft approaches, we are anxious to know definitively what Howie Roseman will do. There are many names circulating behind the scenes, and man, seriously, I believe in Howie. He is an excellent GM and knows what he is doing. It is great to know that we can rest assured that we have a respected guy in charge of the team. We won Super Bowl 59, and we will definitely win Super Bowl 60. If possible, comment like this: Go Howie! Let's win another Super Bowl. Now, I have a few important things to get across to you today. First, the Eagles' top priority in free agency, re-signing linebacker Zack Baun. This guy was an absolute force in 2024, playing a crucial role in Vic Fangio's defense. Signed last year to a one-year, $3 million deal, Baun has become one of the best values in the entire NFL. He was a leader on defense alongside Jalen Carter, and his ability to play both the run and the pass made him indispensable. According to reports from the Philadelphia Inquirer, bringing Baun back is the Eagles' top priority this offseason. And honestly, it has to be. This defense was dominant, and removing a key piece like Baun could shake up everything they built last year. But here's the question: will Howie Roseman actually pay a linebacker? Historically, he's been hesitant to do so, choosing instead to invest in the trenches. However, Roseman hinted that things might be changing. He emphasized that roster decisions are player-dependent and that the Eagles need to evolve with the league. That suggests that while they've avoided investing heavily in linebackers before, Baun could be the exception if the price is right. Speaking of building the trenches, Roseman loves stacking talent on the offensive and defensive lines. That philosophy has paid off big time, and it's one of the reasons why the Eagles were able to suffocate Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Other teams around the league are starting to take notice of how dominant the Eagles' formula has been. Just look at the buzz around the combine. Roseman calls his obsession with linemen a healthy obsession, but we all know he means unhealthy. The guy never feels like he has enough talent in the trenches, and honestly, that's what separates Philly from other teams. Now, let's talk about the biggest rumor circling the Eagles right now: a potential blockbuster trade for Myles Garrett. That's right, the superstar edge rusher could be on the move, and Philadelphia is being mentioned as a dark horse candidate to land him. Now, before you get too excited, nothing is set in stone, but the connections are there. Browns GM Andrew Berry used to work under Howie Roseman, and Roseman has a track record of pulling off major trades. Here's what we do know: Roseman refused to shut down the idea when asked about a potential deal. He wouldn't speak about Garrett specifically, but he made it clear that the Eagles will explore every possible option to improve the roster. A move for Garrett wouldn't come cheap. He'd require a massive trade package and a contract extension, but Roseman is a wizard when it comes to cap maneuvering. If there's a way to get it done, he'll find it. And let's be real, losing Josh Sweat and Milton Williams in free agency would create a huge void on the defensive line. That's where young guys like Jackson Hunt and Moro Ojomo will need to step up. Hunt, in particular, was a revelation late in the season, showing flashes of dominance that made him a key piece in the Super Bowl run. If the Eagles don't land a big-name pass rusher like Garrett, Hunt and Ojomo will be critical in keeping the defense at an elite level. But let's not forget the lighter side of things. Howie Roseman took one hell of a shot to the head during the Eagles Super Bowl parade. That's right, some wild Eagles fan launched a beer can straight at him, and the guy ended up with a cut on his forehead. Classic Philly, right? But instead of getting mad, Roseman loved it. He talked about how incredible it was to see over 1 million Eagles fans show up in freezing temperatures just to celebrate their team. That's what makes this fan base different. That's what makes you different. So now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about all of this? Should the Eagles go all in on a Myles Garrett trade? Is Zack Baun worth breaking the team's usual linebacker philosophy? And how confident are you in Jackson Hunt and Moro Ojomo stepping up if Sweat and Williams leave? Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep this conversation going. Another thing to keep in mind is the long-term outlook of this team. After winning Super Bowls in both 2017 and 2024, Howie Roseman is in a position where he has to make sure the Eagles stay on top. And when you compare these two championship rosters, there's one major difference. This 2024 team is younger and built to last. That's a huge reason why some around the league believe the Eagles are positioned to make a dynastic run. Back in 2017, key players like Jason Peters, Malcolm Jenkins, and even Carson Wentz, before his injury, were all either aging or not locked in long-term. This 2024 team, however, has a core of stars right in their prime: Jalen Hurts, DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Carter, and even the guys up front like Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata. Roseman himself acknowledged this, saying that the team needs to do everything possible to keep this window open for as long as they can. One way to do that? Get creative with roster moves. And let's be real, this is what Howie does best. We've seen him work magic with the salary cap before, and now he has a chance to do it again. But that also means trusting young players to step up, something Roseman specifically pointed out during his press conference. With a stacked roster and smart drafting, he believes the Eagles can sustain this success for years to come. And if we're being honest, there's one big reason the Eagles must keep pushing forward: Patrick Mahomes. Despite absolutely dominating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the fact remains that Mahomes and Kansas City aren't going anywhere. If the Eagles want to stay on top, they need to keep reinforcing their biggest strengths: the trenches, a versatile defense, and a deep, talented offense. Now, back to this offseason. Outside of Zack Baun and the potential Myles Garrett trade, the Eagles are also keeping a close eye on a few positions in free agency and the draft. Roseman made it clear that he's always looking to upgrade both lines, and that's where we could see some early draft picks go. There's also speculation that the Eagles might target another cornerback, especially with aging veterans like Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Another big question is what happens at running back. DeAndre Swift was solid in 2024, but does Roseman want to pay him for the long term? The Eagles have had success finding cheap, talented backs in free agency or through trades. Just look at what happened with Swift last offseason. So, don't be surprised if Roseman pulls off another sneaky move at that position. And let's not forget about Jalen Hurts. After signing his massive contract extension, 2025 will be a huge year for him. Can he continue to grow as a passer? Can he cement himself as the best quarterback in the NFC? If Hurts keeps improving, the Eagles will always be in the mix for a Super Bowl. So, as we move forward, there are so many storylines to watch. Will the Eagles make another blockbuster trade? Will Howie Roseman once again prove why he's one of the best GMs in football? And can this team turn one championship into a dynasty? Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. One thing is clear: Howie Roseman is playing chess while the rest of the league is playing checkers. The way he constructs this roster isn't just about this season, it's about long-term dominance. We're watching a front office masterclass unfold, and the Eagles are in position to be the team to beat for years to come. But let's talk about something else that really sets this team apart: the culture. You don't win 2 Super Bowls in a 7-year span without building a locker room that's rock solid. And that all starts at the top. From Nick Sirianni's fiery energy to Jalen Hurts' unshakable leadership, this team has a mentality that's different from most. They expect to win. They don't flinch under pressure. And that's why even after hoisting another Lombardi trophy, no one is satisfied. That's why the moves this offseason are so important. Roseman knows he can't let this roster get complacent. He has to keep adding, keep tweaking, keep making this team better. We've seen what happens when teams get too comfortable after winning. It's why so many champions don't repeat. But with this core, this coaching staff, and this front office, the Eagles have a chance to be different. Now, let's go back to the trenches, because we know that's where Howie's focus is. Losing Josh Sweat and Milton Williams would be a big hit, but don't forget, Roseman always has a plan. That's why Jackson Hunt and Moro Ojomo are being groomed for bigger roles. And let's not rule out another veteran signing. Maybe it's Myles Garrett, maybe it's another defensive lineman, but one thing is certain: this front office will not leave the defensive line shorthanded. So, what do you think? Is this the beginning of a dynasty? Should the Eagles make another blockbuster trade? And what's the one move you want to see Howie Roseman make? Drop your thoughts below and let's talk about it. And remember, this isn't just a team. This is a movement. Fly, Eagles, fly!